I was born in Harrisburg, one of 12 children to my parents. By the first time I experienced death without any kind of intervention from the medical community was when my baby sister died. I was 9 years old. She lived about a day and a half, and her lung collapsed. And so she died from that. And then by the time I was 17, then I had lost another brother, a 22-year-old brother, to Crohn's disease because he did not seek medical attention until the very last moment, and then it was too late. So he actually died in the hospital. And then 14 months later, my father passed away after just a short illness, or so it seemed, but also because he did not seek any medical treatment. This entire sect is based on that. It's based on divine healing. It's based on the fact that it is the belief that God creates man and God takes it away. God gives life, God takes it away. And so you never know when your time's going to be, and you're to be content with that and be okay with that. So that if you do have an illness, even though the idea will be that you need to eradicate sin as much as possible because that's the only chance you might have of getting a healing. However, needless to say, I don't think I've ever witnessed much in the way of healing in my entire 21 years that I was there before I got out and left. I left because I think after seeing all of that death, I think I thought that it could be me next. And there was something in me that needed to survive, that wanted to survive, that cared enough to survive and fight for it. But I had gotten tired of seeing it all, seeing all the death. And I was pretty bold and said a pretty powerful prayer to God that I was done, that I would not serve God anymore if this was the kind of God that it was, that would just take so much from a family that was a good family, that was doing everything that they knew how to do, you know. We didn't, of course, know what Tim had until after he was gone, but it was a couple years, and it started out with stomach pain, and we prayed and prayed, and he was anointed, and went through the house looking for sinful items that we needed to get rid of, and he searched his heart, trying to figure out what was wrong, why God wouldn't heal him. This God that we were supposed to keep worshiping, and why God wouldn't heal him. And so we watched him slowly but surely. He began to get bent over. Now we're talking, he was only, we're talking between 20 and 22 till he died. And so this young man began to look like an old man, and he was bones by the time he died. But he was literally stooped over as if he had a hunchback. And he would, we'd get him out to church, we'd load him up in a car, keep him warm, because, he had to get to church as much as possible, because that was showing faith, even as his body was literally decaying right before us. I remember he began to ooze different places. His feet got huge, and I used to rub his feet for him. I could still feel it. Clear as day, I can still feel that. I would try to read scripture to him. And I remember we gave him a bell, and so that during the night he could ring this bell if he needed something. And I would wake up, I started to have nightmares at that time. And I would hear that bell, and it would just be, put the pillow over my head. I didn't want to have to go and see what I knew I was going to see, but I couldn't not help him. I was never one to run. So I would go and, comb his hair. I shaved him when he needed shaved. Tried to talk. Was really lamenting the loss of this brother who had inspired me to write. He was a writer as well. I still have have a book that he hand wrote, trying to figure out where he was going, because I could see him going. And in essence, he was becoming so hurt and angry and bitter. But by the time he got there, it was too late. It was too late. They couldn't do anything. And so he was rotting. The smell, I remember when he had passed, we could not get the room clean from that smell. There was a smell like nothing else. The rotting flesh smell, just rotting, upper body rotting, decaying. And the doctors were furious. I heard a story from my father that the doctor cried and begged him. He said, "Dear God, Mr. Zehring," he said, "please don't let this happen to any of your other children." He said, "This is wrong." And so my father, he would tell that story. But they talked about, I remember I said, "Please, can I go?" "No, Valerie, it's too traumatic for you." It was too traumatic for me to see him hooked up to machines and such, but I could smell his rotten body and see things that I didn't need to see as a 15-year-old. So they wouldn't let me go, and I always felt so bad, like I needed to be there for him, to hold his hand. And I can still remember when I heard that he had died. I couldn't believe it. I think it was that youthfulness that said God wouldn't do this. God wouldn't do this to us. God wouldn't take him, because he was a good man. He was a church organist. He served, When I heard about this, I said, "Oh my, here we go again. Here we go again. What precious child has now lost their life? Didn't have even a chance, to grow up." And yes, it takes me back, especially to my baby sister, whom I loved instantly when I saw her. And then to know that suddenly she was gone, and I was told not to ask any questions, that this was God's will. So yes, I go back and I say, why? How long is this going to keep going on? And sometimes I feel helpless, because I don't know how to stop it. I don't know if it's my job to stop it. I think about, I've been a writer most of my life, and I've written a lot of this down, memoirs and things like that. And so sometimes I think, well, if I can just publish that or get the documentary made, it might make a difference. But it's more, for me now, it's more about healing myself. And I actually believe in healing the generations as well. Where I'm at now in my life, that, just being more loving kindness than anything. I try not to even judge it anymore. Not because I don't think it's wrong, but because I know that right now it's just not going to do any good for me to keep going back there in my own past. But yes, it does take me back, of course. Of course it does.